The zipper of Alex Harlan's suitcase hissed open like a serpent uncoiling in the shadowed underbelly of JFK's baggage claim. 3 heartbeats before the first scream echoed through the terminal. A pair of emerald eyes, wild and fractured by terror, locked onto his from the impossible depths of the leather void. Eyes that begged for mercy in a language Alex didn't yet know. "Shoo, please, they're coming," the boy gasped, his voice a razor slicing through the roar of conveyor belts and indifferent travelers, binding Alex's fate to a stranger's desperation in that frozen instant. Alex froze, his fingers still gripping the handle of the rolling carry-on he'd just reclaimed from the flight out of Seattle. The air in the baggage area hummed with the low drone of announcements and the shuffle of jet-lagged feet. But in his corner, time splintered. He was 32, a travel blogger with 250,000 followers chasing sunsets and street food from Portland coffee shops to Parisian bistros. His life a curated feed of wanderlust and wry captions. But nothing in his Insta-perfect world had prepared him for this. A boy, no older than 25 maybe, folded into the fetal curl of his checked bag, sweat slicked and shivering, his breath fogging the faint glow of Alex's forgotten phone charger tangled in the lining. "Jesus," Alex muttered, dropping to one knee as if the concrete floor had buckled beneath him. He glanced over his shoulder. Suits hustling to cabs, a family wrangling strollers, no one noticing the anomaly yet. The boy's hand shot out, pale and trembling, clamping onto Alex's wrist with a grip that spoke of cliffsides and last chances. Up close, he was a mosaic of contradictions. Sharp cheekbones dusted with faint stubble, lips cracked from dehydration, and a faded tattoo of a compass rose peeking from the collar of a threadbare hoodie that smelled of rain-soaked asphalt and fear. "Who the hell are you?" Alex hissed, his voice low but edged with the adrenaline that made his pulse thunder in his ears. He wasn't built for heroics. His adventures were scripted, his risks calculated to the likes and shares. But those eyes, they pulled at something raw. A thread of empathy he'd buried under layers of freelance deadlines and one-night stands in anonymous hotel bars. "Name's Jamie," the boy whispered, his accent a soft lilt that hinted at the rolling hills of Appalachia, not the flat vowels of the city around them. "I didn't mean to. Your bag was unlocked at the curb in Philly. I just needed out. Fast." His gaze darted to the exit doors, where shadows lengthened under the fluorescent glare. "You gotta help me, man. They're right behind." Before Alex could process the plea, a shout cut through the din. "Hey, you see a kid around here? Dark hair, skinny," and the world tilted. 2 men in rumpled jackets, faces hardened by too many bad decisions, scanned the crowd like hawks circling roadkill. Alex's stomach knotted. This wasn't a meet-cute from one of his rom-com guilty pleasures. This was a crime scene unfolding in real time, and he was the unwitting accomplice. "Act natural," Alex breathed, zipping the suitcase halfway and yanking it upright as if reclaiming a stubborn wheel. He slung his backpack over one shoulder and gripped Jamie's hiding spot like a lifeline, steering toward the escalators with the casual stride of a local dodging rush hour. Heart slamming against his ribs, he punched the elevator button instead. Fewer eyes, more cover. The doors slid shut just as one of the men turned their way, his scowl deepening into suspicion. Inside the metal box, ascending to the parking garage, Alex leaned against the wall, the suitcase between his feet like a bomb. "Start talking. Now, who are they?" Jamie unfolded slightly, enough to sit up in the cramped space, his knees drawn to his chest. The elevator's hum masked his words, but Alex caught the fragments. A dead-end town in West Virginia, a father whose love curdled into fists when Jamie came out at 17. A string of foster homes that chewed him up and spat him out. Then desperation, a ride share to the city that turned sour, men promising shelter but delivering chains. "I hitched with these guys last week. Thought they were heading to New York for a fresh start. But it's bad, Alex. Drugs worse. I bolted when we stopped for gas. Hid in your bag, 'cause it was the only one not locked." Alex's mind raced, piecing together the puzzle while the numbers climbed. 3, 4, 5. He was no saint. His own coming out had been a quiet email to his folks at 22, followed by years of hookups that never quite filled the void of something real. But Jamie's story clawed at him, stirring memories of his own midnight drives from a small-town high school where whispers could kill. "Okay," he said, the word tasting like commitment. "You're with me now. But we gotta get you out of there before I pop this thing open and you tumble out like a bad magic trick." The elevator dinged at the garage level, spilling them into a concrete labyrinth echoing with distant car alarms. Alex wheeled the suitcase to his rental, a beat-up Jeep Wrangler, perfect for his cross-country shoots, and popped the trunk under the guise of tossing in his gear. Jamie spilled out in a graceless heap, all limbs and muffled curses, scrambling into the back seat and burrowing under a pile of camera bags and hoodies. "Drive," he urged, peeking through a blanket fold. Eastbound, toward the bridge. Alex slid behind the wheel, the engine roaring to life like his better judgment dying a quick death. As he merged onto the Van Wyck Expressway, the Manhattan skyline unfurled ahead, jagged teeth against a bruised purple sky, and for a fleeting second, he wondered if this was the detour that would derail his neatly plotted life. But glancing in the rearview at Jamie's huddled form, those emerald eyes catching the dashboard glow, he felt a spark. Not pity, not obligation, something electric, alive, whispering that some suitcases weren't meant to stay shut. The Jeep ate up the miles, weaving through traffic thick as regret. Alex's phone buzzed on the dash, voicemails from his editor, a reminder for tomorrow's pitch on Hidden Gems of the Hudson Valley. He silenced it, focusing on the road, on the boy in his back seat who was starting to uncurl like a fern in sunlight. "You hungry?" Alex asked, spotting a Golden Arches sign glowing like a beacon off the exit. Jamie hesitated, then nodded, his voice small. "Starving, but thanks for not ditching me." They pulled into the lot, the Jeep's tires crunching over loose gravel. Alex ordered at the drive-thru Big Macs, fries, chocolate shakes, paying with one hand while keeping an eye on the mirrors for tails that never came. Back on the highway, they ate in companionable silence, the wrapper crinkle the only sound until Jamie broke it. "You're a blogger? Like, what, food porn or something?" Alex chuckled, a low rumble that eased the knot in his chest. "Travel. The kind where I pretend life's all filters and no filters. You? Besides being a human contortionist." A ghost of a smile tugged at Jamie's lips. "Bartender back home. Dreams of graphic design school. But," he trailed off, sipping his shake. "Family wasn't exactly waving pride flags." The words hung heavy, mirroring Alex's own scars. The brother who'd stopped calling after the phase line. The mom who'd sent fruitcakes but no hugs. "Yeah," Alex said softly. "I get it. Small town, big secrets." As the city lights blurred into suburbs, they traded stories like contraband. Alex's viral post from a Yellowstone backpacking trip that nearly got him mauled by a bison. Jamie's sketchbook doodles of superheroes with capes made of recycled newspaper. Laughter crept in, tentative at first, then full-throated, chasing shadows from the rearview. By the time Alex veered off toward his Airbnb in Beacon, a creaky Victorian overlooking the Hudson, dawn was bruising the horizon pink. The house was a writer's retreat on steroids. Wraparound porch, clawfoot tub, walls lined with mismatched bookshelves. Alex unlocked the door, the keychain jangling like wind chimes. "Mi casa es su casa. Couch is yours. I'll take the guest room." Jamie stepped inside, shedding his hoodie like a skin, revealing a lean frame marked by faint bruises blooming like storm clouds on his ribs. Alex's breath caught, not in horror, but in a fierce protectiveness that scared him more than the men at the airport. "Showers down the hall," he said gruffly. "Towels in the linen closet." While Jamie washed away the grime, Alex paced the kitchen, brewing coffee strong enough to wake the dead. His laptop sat open on the island, cursor blinking accusingly over a half-finished draft. But words wouldn't come. Instead, visions of emerald eyes and whispered pleas looped in his head. When Jamie emerged, towel-turbaned and drowning in one of Alex's old band tees, Nirvana, faded to ghost gray. He looked younger, almost ethereal in the morning light slanting through the bay window. They spent the day in a fragile truce. Alex editing photos from his last shoot, Jamie curled on the couch with a borrowed sketchpad, charcoal flying across pages in furious strokes. Lunch was takeout Thai from the village strip, pad CEW that burned just right, and over it confessions spilled like spilled ink. Jamie admitted the tattoo was for his grandmother, the one who'd slipped him 20s and stories of boys who loved boys from the old country. Alex shared his first kiss, stolen behind a barn at a county fair, tasting of cotton candy and terror. By evening, as fireflies danced over the river like errant stars, they sat on the porch swing, beers sweating in their hands. The air hummed with cicadas, thick with the scent of honeysuckle and possibility. "Why'd you help me?" Jamie asked, his knee brushing Alex's in the sway. Alex met his gaze, the green depths pulling him under. Because sometimes, life's not about the view from the road. It's about who you pick up along the way. Their fingers intertwined then, tentative as a question, and in that touch, the world righted itself. But as night deepened, a distant rumble echoed. Not thunder, but engines, closing in like wolves scenting blood. The suitcase's secret had unraveled more than leather. It had torn open veins, and the past wasn't done bleeding. The first knock shattered the idol like glass under a boot heel, sharp, insistent. Rattling the screen door at 2 a.m. Alex jolted awake on the couch where they dozed off tangled in each other's warmth. Jamie's head pillowed on his chest, breaths sinking in the quiet aftermath of their first real kiss. It had been soft, exploratory, tasting of lingering beer and unspoken promises, sealing the fragile bond forged in airport shadows. Now reality crashed in, the porch light flickering like a warning flare. "Open up. We know he's in there." The voice was gravelly, laced with menace. The same timbre from the baggage claim, amplified by bourbon and bad intentions. Jamie's eyes snapped open, terror flooding the green like ink in water. "Shit, it's them. How'd they?" "Stay down?" Alex whispered, easing Jamie behind the cushions as he rose, heart hammering a war drum. He grabbed his phone, thumb hovering over 911, but hesitated. Cops meant questions, records, a spotlight on Jamie's fragile new start. Instead, he cracked the door, chain still latched, peering into the night where 2 silhouettes loomed. The shouters from JFK, flanked by a third, burly and tattooed, a crowbar dangling casual as a cigarette from his meaty fist. "We're looking for a runaway," the leader growled, his face a map of prison yard scars. "Kid named Jamie. Stole from us. You seen him?" Alex's mind whirred, channeling every bluff he'd pulled in dive bars from Miami to Montana. "Wrong house, buddy. We're just crashing after a wedding. Try the next block." He forced a yawn, scratching his head for effect, but his free hand clenched the doorframe, knuckles whitening. The man's eyes narrowed, flicking past Alex to the shadowed living room. "Heard a Jeep pull in. Yours? Rental?" Alex shot back, pulse sinking with the cicada's frantic chorus. "From the city. Look, it's late." The crowbar man lunged then, slamming it against the frame with a crack that splintered wood. "Open the damn door or we'll do it ourselves." Panic surged, but so did fury. A protective blaze Alex hadn't felt since defending his little sister from playground bullies. He slammed the door, fumbling the chain free just as Jamie bolted upright, sketchpads scattering like fallen leaves. "We gotta go. Back door." They moved like smoke, Alex snatching keys and wallet, Jamie grabbing the hoodie that still carried Alex's scent. The kitchen exit led to a muddy path snaking toward the river, overgrown with brambles that clawed at their jeans like desperate fingers. Behind them, glass shattered, the front window giving way to curses and crashing furniture. The Airbnb's quaint charm turned trap in seconds, but the Hudson's dark ribbon beckoned, a vein of escape under the moon's indifferent gaze. They hit the water's edge breathless, the river lapping greedy at the bank. No boat, no bridge, just the current swift and unforgiving. "Swim," Jamie panted, stripping off the oversized tee, his skin goose-pimpled in the chill. Alex nodded, shedding his own shirt, the the cool air biting like regret. Together, follow my lead. He waded in first, the shock of cold stealing his breath, but Jamie's hand in his anchored him. They pushed off, strokes clumsy but synced. The far bank a hazy promise through the mist. Gunshots? No. Echoes of branches snapping. The pursuers thrashing through underbrush on the near side. Voices fading as the current pulled them downstream. They washed up a half-mile down, sputtering on a gravel bar beneath the railroad trestle. Bodies bruised but unbroken. Jamie coughed, rolling onto his back, stars wheeling overhead like witnesses to their survival. You swam like a pro. What's your secret? Triathlon phase in college? Alex gasped, laughter bubbling up through chattering teeth. Thought it'd make me look good shirtless on dates. He pulled Jamie close, their wet forms pressing for warmth. The river's murmur a lullaby against the adrenaline crash. In that mud-slicked embrace, kisses reignited. Not tentative now, but hungry, laced with the salt of tears and sweat. It was more than desire. It was defiance, a middle finger to the night that had tried to claim them. Dawn found them hitchhiking north on Route 9, thumbs out under a sky-streaked raspberry and gold. A kindly old-timer in a pickup, retired teacher heading to Cold Spring. Gave them a lift, no questions asked beyond rough night, boys. They crashed at a no-tell-motel on the edge of town. The kind with neon vacancy signs buzzing like angry bees and walls thin as paper promises. Alex paid cash, spinning a tale of lost wallets and delayed flights, while Jamie showered off the river's grit. In the cramped room, with its sagging bed and faded floral wallpaper, they finally talked strategy. We can't run forever, Alex said, toweling his hair as Jamie sketched absent-mindedly on motel stationery. A portrait of them mid-swim, heroic and half-drowned. You need a plan. Real one. ID, job, something solid. Jamie set the pencil down, his eyes tracing Alex's face like a map. And you? This isn't your mess. It is now, Alex replied, the words simple but seismic. He crossed the room in 2 strides, cupping Jamie's jaw, thumb brushing the faint bruise shadowing his cheekbone. Their lips met again, slower this time, a deepening of the bond that had sparked in a suitcase's shadows. Hours blurred into touches and whispers, bodies entwining not in haste but in healing, fingers mapping scars, breaths mingling in the quiet sanctuary of acceptance. It was love's tentative architecture, built on trust's shaky foundation, each caress a brick against the world's wrecking ball. But paradise has leaks. 2 days later, over greasy diner pancakes in Poughkeepsie, Alex's phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. Saw your Jeep on the news. Hero blogger saves the day? Or hides the thief? Check your email. Attached was a grainy photo. Jamie, mid-hitch, thumb out, time-stamped yesterday. Alex's blood iced. Someone had tipped them off. A fan? A neighbor from the Airbnb? Jamie's fork clattered. What is it? Trouble? Alex murmured, deleting the message but feeling its ghost linger. They ditched the Jeep in a Walmart lot, switching to a Greyhound bound for Boston. Bigger city, more crowds to swallow them whole. On the bus, Jamie's head on Alex's shoulder, he confessed deeper wounds. The father who'd disowned him after finding a love letter to a boy from the next county. The foster brother who'd sold him out for a hit of meth. I trusted him once. Thought he got it. But blood don't mean loyalty. Alex squeezed his hand, the bus's sway lulling them into uneasy sleep. Trust, that was the currency they traded now, fragile as fool's gold. In Boston, they holed up in a South End walk-up, sublet from a drag queen contact of Alex's who'd once crashed one of his blog events. Sasha, 6 foot in heels, which sharper than stilettos, smuggled them in with a wink and a warning. Honey, love's a battlefield, but don't let it turn you into roadkill. Life settled into a rhythm. Alex freelancing remote posts on urban escapes. Jamie enrolling in night classes at a community college for digital arts, his sketches evolving from chaos to clarity. Evenings were theirs, walks along the Charles River, where Jamie taught Alex to skip stones and Alex shared playlists of indie folk that made the skyline sing. Their love deepened roots. Lazy Sundays in bed debating superheroes' moral codes. Midnight confessions over takeout falafel. Alex posted a cryptic story, a blurred shot of intertwined hands against brick, captioned, "Found my compass." And the likes poured in, but so did the DMs, whispers of envy and support from his queer followers who'd long sensed his hidden heart. Yet betrayal brews in the quiet hours. One rainy Tuesday, Alex returned from a coffee run to find Jamie on the fire escape. Phone pressed to his ear, voice hushed and urgent. "Yeah, I got the cash. Just give me time." He hung up as Alex crested the stairs, face paling to chalk. "Who was that?" Alex asked, the question casual but his gut twisting. Jamie hesitated, then deflated. "My brother, the foster one. He found me through some online trail. Says dad's dying, needs money for meds. I sent what I could from my first paycheck." Relief warred with unease. "Why not tell me? Didn't want to drag you in deeper." Jamie's eyes pleaded, but Alex saw the fracture, the old habit of carrying alone. "It's us now," Alex said, pulling him inside. "No drags, just us." But the call was a crack in the dam. Days later, another message hit Alex's inbox. "Coordinates to a warehouse in Dorchester, time-stamped midnight. Bring the kid. Or we post everything, your little love nest," his rap sheet. Family reunion time. Photos followed, them at the diner, on the bridge, intimate moments stolen from public cams. The hunters hadn't quit. They'd evolved, using the digital trails Alex's blog inadvertently left. Confrontation loomed like thunderheads over the harbor. "We face it," Jamie insisted that night, curled against Alex in the narrow bed, rain pattering like impatient fingers on the pane. "No more running. I owe them nothing but you. I can't lose you." Alex kissed his temple, tasting salt. "Then we end it. Together." The warehouse squatted on the edge of Boston's industrial sprawl like a forgotten beast. Its corrugated walls rusted to the color of old blood, windows shattered, eyes staring blind into the fog. Midnight arrived cloaked in drizzle, the kind that soaked through jackets and seeped into bones. Alex and Jamie approached on foot, having ditched a rideshare 2 blocks out, their footsteps muffled on the cracked pavement. Alex's hand gripped Jamie's, slick with sweat despite the chill. A lifeline woven from 2 weeks of whispered vows and shared dreams. "You sure about this?" Alex murmured, his breath fogging in the sodium glow of a distant street lamp. He'd armed them as best he could. Pepper spray in his pocket, a tire iron from Sasha's garage tucked in Jamie's waistband. No guns, too messy, too irreversible. This was about closure, not carnage. Jamie nodded, his jaw set like granite. "They want money? I got a little saved. But it's over. No more shadows." Yet his eyes betrayed the storm. Fear laced with resolve. The boy from the suitcase, now a man ready to claim his ground. The side door creaked open under Jamie's push, exhaling the stench of mildew and motor oil. Inside, the space yawned vast and echoing, crates stacked like tombstones under hanging bulbs that swung lazy in the draft. 3 figures waited in the center. The leader from JFK, Crowbar Man, and a wiry third with a switchblade glint. But the fourth, the wild card, froze Alex's blood. "Tommy," Jamie breathed, staggering a step. His foster brother, leaner than memory but with the same crooked grin, stepped from the gloom, arms crossed over a faded Led Zeppelin tee. "Hey, little bro, long time." Tommy's voice was honey over razor wire, eyes flicking to Alex with predatory curiosity. "Who's the knight?" "Your sugar daddy." Jamie's fists clenched. "What the hell, man? You said dad needed help. Not this." Tommy shrugged, circling like a shark scenting chum. "Dad's dying, yeah, but debts don't pay themselves. You vanished, left me holding the bag. These fellas? They fronted the cash for our fresh start. Figured you'd cough up your share." Betrayal landed like a gut punch, visible in the sag of Jamie's shoulders, the way his free hand rose instinctive to his chest as if to staunch a wound. Alex stepped forward, tire iron heavy in his grip. "Back off. Whatever this is, it's done. He doesn't owe you shit." The leader laughed, a bark that echoed off the rafters. "Pretty boy blogger thinks he's John Wayne. Kid here's got sticky fingers, nicked our stash in Philly. $5 grand worth. Pay up, or we take it out in trade. The air thickened, charged with the promise of violence. Jamie's voice cracked the tension. I didn't steal. You said it was a loan. For the ride. His gaze locked on Tommy, pleading across the abyss. We were family. You promised. Tommy's grin faltered. A flicker of something human. Guilt? Regret? Before hardening. Family's a fairy tale, Jamie. You learned that when you chose. This. His gesture encompassed Alex, the word dripping disdain, weaponizing the love that had bloomed in suitcase secrets. The switchblade man lunged then, a blur of malice, but Alex was faster. Pepper spray hissing in a cloud that sent the guy howling to his knees, clawing at his eyes. Chaos erupted. Crowbar swinging wild, clipping Alex's shoulder in a burst of fire that buckled him. Jamie roared, tire iron arcing to crack against the leader's knee, bones snapping like dry twigs. Tommy hesitated, blade half drawn. His face a war of loyalties as the melee swirled. Stop! Jamie yelled, pinning his brother against a crate, the metal cold against Tommy's throat. Just stop. Take the money, but leave us be. In the standoff's hush, breaths ragged and bloodied, Tommy's eyes met Jamie's. Mirrors of the same fractured youth. You always were the soft one, he muttered, sheathing the knife. Go, before I change my mind. The leader groaned from the floor, but the fight bled out of them, deflated by the raw ache of brotherhood's betrayal. Alex hauled Jamie back, arm throbbing but functional, and they fled into the night, the warehouse receding like a bad dream. Rain washed their faces as they stumbled to a main drag, hailing a cab to the ER. Stitches for Alex, ice for Jamie's knuckles, and a quiet corner to unravel. You okay? Alex asked later, bandaged and battered in the sterile weight, Jamie's head on his good shoulder. Jamie exhaled, shaky. He sold me out. For what? A fix? But I saw it. The hurt. We're both just survivors, twisted wrong. Humanity's grace. That was the thread Alex clung to, the humanistic core that made their story more than survival porn. Doesn't excuse it, but it explains. And explaining, that's where healing starts. They left Boston at dawn, Greyhound West this time, not fleeing, but choosing. Alex's blog went dark for a week, then roared back with a manifesto. The real journey. When detours become destinations. No names, no faces, but the words poured out. Love found in shadows, betrayal's sting, forgiveness's quiet power. Followers flooded in, stories of their own hidden suitcases, turning Alex's feed into a beacon. Months blurred. A cross-country drive in a new Subaru, Jamie's art show in Chicago drawing scouts from design firms, Alex's book deal for a memoir that blurred fact and heart. They settled in Portland. Rain-kissed streets, food trucks that fed the soul. A tiny bungalow with a porch swing echoing Beacon's ghost. Love matured there, roots delving deep. Arguments over dirty dishes that ended in laughter. Tattoos matching the compass rose. A proposal under Oregon pines whispered on one knee. But the past's echo lingered. A letter arrived one spring, postmarked West Virginia. Tommy's scrawl, shaky from rehab. Clean 6 months. Dad's gone. Peace? Jamie read it aloud, tears carving tracks, then burned it in the backyard fire pit. Not in anger, but release. Human, he said simply, Alex's arms around him as embers danced skyward. In the end, the suitcase, that battered relic shipped back from JFK, sat in the attic, zipper sealed, a relic of the boy who'd tumbled into Alex's life. It hadn't just moved on its own. It had shifted worlds, unearthing hearts long buried. And in the quiet of their shared mornings, coffee steaming on the kitchen table, they'd glance at each other across the steam, emerald meeting hazel. And no, some changes aren't detours. They're the map. Years later, on a crisp October eve in Portland's Pearl District, Alex Harlan stood before a crowd of 200 bloggers, artists, queer icons clustered in a converted warehouse gallery that smelled of exposed brick and fresh paint. His memoir, Suitcase Secrets, had hit bestseller lists, its cover a stylized zipper spilling rainbows over a blurred skyline. But tonight wasn't about sales. It was Jamie's first solo exhibit, walls alive with canvases that bled emotion. Suitcases cracked open to reveal cityscapes of longing, figures entwined against stormy horizons, compasses pointing not north but home. Alex watched from the wings as Jamie, now 29 and steady as oak, fielded questions with the quiet fire that had first hooked him. No trace of the terrified boy from the bag. Just a man who'd rebuilt himself, line by deliberate line. Their life was a tapestry now. A rescue dog named Hudson who snored on their feet. A garden plot yielding tomatoes that Jamie turned into sauce. Alex's podcast Detour Diaries interviewing survivors of all stripes. Love, once a spark in shadows, burned steady. A hearth, not a flare. Yet the humanistic heart of it all pulsed in the unspoken. Forgiveness wasn't erasure. Tommy's letters came sporadic, glimpses of a man clawing from the pit, relapse, redemption, a job at an auto shop. Jamie replied sometimes, cards with sketches of bridges, not walls. We're all just trying, he'd say, and Alex would nod, understanding the grace in letting go without forgetting. As the gallery thinned, Jamie found him by the bar, 2 IPAs in hand. Nervous speech, he teased, clinking glasses, his ring. Simple tungsten, engraved with coordinates from that riverbank. Catching the light, Alex grinned, pulling him close amid the murmurs. Nah, just grateful. For the boy who wouldn't stay packed away. Their kiss was unhurried, public and proud, drawing smiles from strangers who'd read the book, pieced together the legend. Outside, fog rolled in from the Willamette, but the street lamp haloed them soft, romantic as a film still. In that moment, Alex remembered the hook, the zipper's hiss, the eyes in the dark, and marveled. From terror to this, a life rewritten not by chance, but choice. And somewhere, in an attic box, the suitcase waited patient, unassuming, ready for the next story, should the world dare to unzip it again.